Okay, we're back on TryHackMe, finishing off first shift CTF. I apologise that I think the SOC event ended today, um, so hopefully everyone's completed this before the event closed. I woke up to an email saying that the event was closing today, and I hadn't finished task 8 yet, but we got it done today. So task 8 is promotion night. This one took me a while to do. Um, I'll go through how I got the answers. I've tried to keep all my Splunk queries open here so we can just rip through it. I don't want to waste anyone's time. And I've also got a paste bin, which might save you a lot of legwork. Alright, let's jump in. Okay, so our first question was, what was the network share path where ransomware was placed? Okay, and so I caught this easily with just a generic search phrase for robocopy, xcopy, copy, PowerShell, and jumped out at me straight away gaze.exe, getting put into Windows temp gaze.exe. So obviously we already knew from our IDS alert that we were hunting ransomware, and so all time search generic broad sweep, and we found it. So that's the answer to our first question, the share path. So there, dc-01 slash systemvol dash gaze.exe. What is the value ransomware created on persistent boot? Okay. Just also, while I switched to this tab, this was another broad search that I did, just searching for encrypt, ransomware, VS admin, shadow. Part of the common ransomware is to delete the shadow so you can't restore. So that was also picked up that, there definitely was an infection, and it was Eric Portman. But what was our question? Persistence. Okay, so again, this is a search I used to pick it up, and we got the registry entry here, baby lockers KZ, and it was from gaze.exe, so everything's fitting in. I'll put all my search phrases in the description. So the answer is baby lockers KZ. Okay, what was the most likely extension for their encrypted files? So for this one, I went to VirusTotal. I'll just go back for 1 second. I grabbed the hash of the gaze file. I went to VirusTotal, entered the hash, and then we could go to behavior, and created files is one of the headings down here, or files written I should say, and you can see there .danger 17, because I found their encryption process on Splunk, but I didn't find any of the output files, so I pivoted to looking at VirusTotal and I found that, so that was the answer. Which MITRE technique was used to deploy the ransomware? Okay, Windows Management Instrumentation, T1047 was the answer to that, and that's because they use WMI to transfer the files over, the gaze.exe. What ports of server ITFS did the adversary successfully scan? So there was no actual port scan. Like when we think port scan, we think of Nmap, things like that. But if we did do a search for various commands like netview, WMIC, ipconfig, we got the information that they were probing using services, and so Samba, remote desktop, that's how we found our ports. So our ports were 315, 139, 445, 3389, 5985. Now I found proof of all those services except for the remote desktop. That was honestly just an educated guess that they would have probed for that. So that's how I got the answer to that. What is the full path to the malware that performed the discovery? Okay. Did we have that in here? No. Next search. Okay. This is... I can go back, hopefully, without... Let me just copy that so I don't lose it. Sorry. Okay. This is the search. This has already been narrowed down though to find it. But I first initially looked for scheduled tasks. And then once I found that, I narrowed down into it with this DLL. And this was the command that came to my attention. And then when we narrowed it down, we found more. So what was the full path to the malware that performed the discovery? Okay, so it was... Is it listed here? Here. C drive, Windows, System32, fr-fr, roish.dll. So that's our answer to that. Which artifact did the adversary create to persist on the beachhead? And so that was language sync. There. We can also see it in the full command up here. So run DLL, launch the DLL, and language sync. So that pretty much command is our answer there. And that was all discovered via looking for scheduled tasks. Okay. What is the MD5 hash of the embedded initial shellcode? And I assume this is why anyone's watching this video, because this one stumped me for so long. Initially I found this command, looking for PowerShell commands, and found this encoded command. Once I decrypted it, it was not that malicious. It was... Do I still have it listed, or I could just do it quickly now? It was like CyberChef. From base. And then decode text, wasn't it? So what one was it? Oh, it's one of these. Oh, we could just we'll just read it with the dots. Get AD computer, filter properties, IP address, select name, IP address. So that was that encoded command. So I spent a while thinking that I needed to get the hash of this, which wasn't the case. So we can get rid of that. Okay, so then investigating further, I found, and I'm sure most people did find this as well, the Eric Potter downloads update.powerscript. But the problem with this is it's part 1 of 24. So I'm sure there's a better way in Splunk to output it all with the chunks. I tried to get it to join the chunks, but I just had no luck with it. And so what I ended up doing was just manually copying all the blobs into CyberChef. I've got a paste bin of it, so anyone can replicate it. You can save yourself the time of copying and pasting it all. Oh god, where's my cyber share? No! Oh, we can have to do it on the fly. No, surely. Oh, here's my cyber chef. Yep, here we go, sorry. So I pasted it into CyberChef, all 24 parts, joined them together, and then we did decode from base 64, and then ZOR, key 32, hex, and then it's not in here at the moment, but because I was looking through the code for one of the next questions, MD5, and that gives us MD5. And that took me forever. I'm sure someone could paste me a lovely command that joins all the chunks for you. But anyway, that's how we did it. So we have to decode the base 64, and that's it. That's our MD5. And then which C2 framework was used by the adversary in this intrusion? Cobalt Strike was the answer to that. What host name did the adversary log in from on the beachhead? Okay, so that was here, searching for logins, looked at the workstation names because the question was not after an IP, it was after a host name. So that was our answer, desktop. And where are we now? What was the UNC path that likely contained AWS credentials? So for this one, I was just searching for shares, and found this shares folder. And in here, it jumps out at you as cloud-keys.csv. So that's our answer there. Remembering that they're asking for like the mounted path, so it's -srv-itfs-integrations-cloud-keys.csv. So you get rid of the shared. Alright, so that's the answer to that one. From which IP did the adversary access AWS? Okay, so here searching any IPs that connected into AWS. You can see from the counts it's obviously not going to be any of these top results. This was a bit of trial and error, but it's the 24 logins, the 152.42.128.207. Once we have that IP, the rest becomes quite simple, because which of the two sensitive files did the adversary exfil? So we just search for the IP address, and these are the two files, beta.tar and latest.tar. And what did they upload in place of the white files? So we search the same thing, searching for the IP, and have you been pwn.txt is the answer to that. So that's how we solve task 8. I'll show you the formatting of the answers here, but hopefully people came to learn how to get the answers, not what the answers are. Okay, so what was the network share? So we showed that it was gaze.exe on system vol DC01. The value for ransomware, we found the regedit entry for baby lockers KZ. What was the likely extension? And the fact that they asked the most likely, I don't think you're meant to find it in Splunk, because like I said, I found their encryption process, but it was encrypting the whole drive, it wasn't encrypting individual files. So I think by the phrasing of most likely, they did want us to go to virus total, but that's only my assumption. That's how I found it out, and the wording does seem to indicate that. So .danger 17, the Midas technique. Okay, T1047. What ports? So there was no actual scan in the sense of like an Nmap or a Nexus or any sort of various port scanners. It was just probing using various services. What is the path to the malware that performed the discovery? And so this was the DLL file. So we got that from the PowerShell script that ran. Actually, that wasn't from the PowerShell script, sorry. That was from the scheduled task. We picked that up, run DLL 32 there. Language sync, that's part of the question above. It was in the same command. The MD5 hash, so that was combining all the blobs, all the base 64 encoded parts of the 24 different events here that are logged, and pasting them into CyberChef and decoding them and getting the MD5. Like I said, someone can probably do that, not manually. I obviously need to still keep learning Splunk because I was not able to get that spat out to me. It kept combining the 27 part message and the 24 part message, so I ended up with a huge blob that was not right anyway. This was a bit of an assumption based, educated guess I should say, based on looking through the decoded output. What host name did they use? So we used one of the searches on the IP logins and looked at workstation names, and this was looking for shared files, so we looked for the share, and there's only about 9 shared files in there, so that one jumped straight out at us. Which IP? We looked at logins for AWS, and again there's only how many results here? Not many. 2, 4, 6, 8, and we could rule out the ones that had the huge login count, so really it was going to be one of these, and there was only 3 IPs to choose from there. The files, once we knew the IP, just simply searched for written files and retrieve files, and there are answers, and thank God it's all over. First shift completed. If that was my first week, I wouldn't be happy. It was pretty brutal, but I'm glad we all got through it, and I apologize for the late upload on this one. I've been busy. Alright, I'll see you on the next one.